You're listening to I Hate Radio, where the hate is spelled with an 8. I'm Rob Smittix, and the song that you just heard, United States of Deprivation. Love that song, and very, very pleased to be actually joined right now by So Brown. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Life couldn't be better. It's life. But no, I'm very happy to be talking to you. That song right there, as an artist myself, as a songwriter myself, and really pride myself in writing lyrics, that song made me kind of step back and say, wow, is there something I could do better? Because I thought there was a great deal of honesty in that song. I thought the lyrics really said it all. It made my jaw drop and really caught my attention. So I thank you for writing it. You want to tell us a little bit about how that song, became what it is?
Well, it started with an acting teacher suggesting a theme of just deprivation. Mm-hmm. And I think he suggested like a hard rock song or something like that. Once I just had that little seed in my mind, the details of it came very naturally, and I found myself like I'd be walking down a street in Brooklyn and just rhyming and working out these rap lyrics, spoken word. Mm-hmm. It wasn't very hard to find material to draw from.
Right.
But, just having, I guess this theme of, the United States and all the places I've been, and all the things I've seen, and this, I've always been a kind of person where I guess I just see the dark underbelly of things very naturally, and everybody else is like whitewashing the details, and they'll be like, well, don't you see that there's this elephant in the room or whatever it might be.
Right.
So, it came very naturally and very organically, and just a lot of long walks, basically talking to myself as I worked out these lyrics and recorded it on my phone. And yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm telling you, really, that song really captured me. Kind of really sent like chills up my spine. I had to listen again, but I had to kind of, like a hot cup of coffee. I had to set it down, let it cool off, and come back to it because it's a really deep song with a lot of message in there, and I think the sound too, is quite different than anything else that you've done before. Is this more of a one-off as far as style goes, or are we expecting any more songs that would sound, similar style?
Well, when it comes to the creativity, the muse, whatever you want to call it, I always try to follow it wherever it wants me to go. And this was a case where, I didn't have like a preconceived idea of myself as a rapper. Mm-hmm. I came out of the school of Jeff Buckley songwriters and stuff like that.
Sure.
But, I always, I remember the first time I heard LL Cool J when I was in middle school, and just what a revelation that was. And, I went to school for college in North Florida, and, Outkast at the time was like a religion basically in that area. And, I had worked with rappers before, and it's always been dear to me. So, it's just this case, and I know it's probably bad branding or whatever, but, when the song says play me or write me, right, I just go for it. And if it's a rap song, great. And I really enjoy, it's one thing I'll say about United States of Deprivation. It's there's nothing to hide behind. A lot of times when I play it live, it's me and an acoustic guitar, and there's just I can't hide behind an interesting melodic line or anything like that. It's just its most stripped down form. and I really love it. And I do have some other songs that have some spoken word as well, and I just love how it's just like the essence.
Yeah.
And I love writing that way. But if the creative spark says, play some heavy metal, I'm going to play that. If it says, write like a classical piece with an orchestra, I'm going to go there. I try to keep as open-minded and as willing to go wherever that creative spark leads. So I don't know what's going to come.
Well, I loved it too. I mean, seriously loved it to the point that I've been listening to it quite a bit, to be honest with you. And like I said, as a songwriter and a lyricist myself, really kind of made me think, okay, because I try to really come from, real aspects of my life, or just, pain. It's usually a really good place to write from. And I don't know, you really got me thinking. So I maybe have to reinvent myself a little bit. And it was definitely inspired by you. Now, obviously,
thank you. That's very kind.
Yeah, you're welcome. You really are true inspiration. So this is a kind of a new song that's coming out right now. Any new material? Anything that people should be expecting from you soon? Are you working on anything?
Well, I got a couple more in the works. I'm really enjoying, as far as format, I just love these standalone music videos or one-offs or whatever you want to call it, and I have a bunch more sort of in queue as as the stars align and the money comes in to pay for them, because they're expensive.
Sure.
But just as like a format, I've been leaning more towards that than albums, because I love the video aspect, and I'm grateful to work around some incredible directors and cinematographers, and I feel like the possibility of a couple more tracks with videos is very possible right now, and that's what I'm working towards. But as to specifics about that, not ready to be revealed. But yes, there's a couple more on the way.
Well, definitely let us know when that happens. Now, I know in the video that you just put out, United States of Deprivation, there's a map on there, and it's kind of going to all these different places. And these places, from the way I see it, I mean, these are places that you've lived or are near and dear to you. Kind of let us know. I mean, was it the Houston, Texas area that you're from, and then you ended up in Brooklyn all of a sudden, or how did that work out?
Yeah, well, I was born in Houston, Texas, and we were there until I was 12. And then my dad got transferred to Miami, so I spent my teens there. And my mom's side of the family has roots in Alabama, so I've also lived there for a few years. I'm just like a product of the Gulf Coast.
Right.
And, it's in my cells. I ate those fish and I played in those, bayous, and I swam in the ocean. It's like I'm made of that area. But, I moved to Brooklyn, as a lot of people do, because a lot of the musicians that I met at the time were all based in Brooklyn, and I was like, you know what, if I'm going to be like recording with these guys and collaborating with them, I love their energy. I want to be there. And moved to Carroll Gardens, fell in love with this part of Brooklyn, and been there ever since.
Yeah, I mean, there's like a renaissance in Brooklyn as far as art goes. I mean, it is the place to be right now. A lot of great music coming out of Brooklyn, and
definitely
you would be no exception. Now, speaking of the Gulf Coast, obviously you have roots there, and you mentioned it in the song, and I think definitely had an effect. The BP oil spill. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Well, as a androgynous kid, growing up in that area, I didn't have like a huge social network. I didn't have like, friends. I wasn't totally like accepted, I would say. So I spent a lot of time by myself in nature. And, I think I bonded with the sort of nature of that place in a way that people who have a more social life probably didn't, because that was where I could go. That's where I felt okay. So, I was very close to the ocean. Like some of my best memories are, fishing with my grandfather and just, like I dream about it all the time, just being in the ocean and feeling like all sorts of little minnows, like, up against my legs and catching them with my hands and, like finding a species of little fish that I'd never found before, like this constant, abundance of mystery in life. And, all my life I watched these, oil rigs get built and sort of creep in, and they look like the Star Wars machines. I don't even remember what they're called in Star Wars, but the Star Wars machines
I know what you mean.
Creeping in on the AT-AT or something like that. And so like to have this like, beautiful, delicate landscape with, dolphins and all sorts of creatures and these like, destructive metal monsters kind of creeping up on the horizon, and knowing that if one thing goes wrong, like a lot of stuff can die, and then watching it actually happen, it devastated me. It was like, broke my heart in ways that I didn't know that could get broken. And it still makes me sad because it's not everybody wants to acknowledge it, but it just doesn't go away. Like those sort of, I used to follow some of the people in Alaska that went through the Valdez, and they're still dealing with it 25 years later. Like it's just, there's messes that are hard to clean up, and there's wounds that are not easy to heal. And I think that oil spills are absolutely part of it. And yet, it's nice to have cars, and it's nice to fly an airplane. So I don't like point the finger at anybody, because I get it,
Sure.
But to me, the price of so much death, and like I remember, I had actually planned already to be in Mobile when the oil spill hit, because some of my friends were on tour, and I was going to see their show, Nora Jones and Sasha Dobson.
Oh yeah.
And and that was actually for Mother's Day of 2010. So I planned to like take my mother to the show, and then the oil spill happened. And I remember just flying in this, airplane on the way down there and seeing this gray smog of, I guess, all the oil being burned just as far as the eye could see. And like, this place that I love so much, so dear to my heart. And I knew it wasn't good, I didn't know exactly what was going on, but I knew it wasn't good. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I appreciate you sharing that with us. I really wish that we had more time, but you've obviously put this into your music. I do thank you for your time. I'm going to let you go ahead and introduce the next song that we're going to do. It's one of your own, and hey, go for it. Be a DJ.
Sure. Well, let's go with Dauphin Island. It touches on this theme we've been discussing of, the ocean and the Gulf of Mexico. Dauphin Island is this little hidden island, barrier island that, most of the world would never imagine exists in the Gulf of Mexico. And it's just a gentle song kind of honoring the life. I feel like it's just the song of the island. So.
Right on.